And we are live on Facebook, and we are recording. And I'm John Mercer, president of the Las Vegas Triathlon Club, and I've got Bob Gamble here, co-host for our Las Vegas Member Spotlight. And tonight we have Fredrica Roldan, and I am so excited about having this conversation with Fredrica. I first met Fredrica when I went to one of our Wednesday night swims. And she was just an immediate person that you just get drawn to talking with her. She's very happy and, very engaging. And it was a lot of fun for me to just sort of chat with her and swim a bit. And that was great. And I, also, visit with you and your husband each time at races. And I know you got him involved with a relay race. And so you draw people into the sport. And I just discovered I guess you don't say you're a Texan, but you have spent time in Texas, as have I. And so I did some work down at University of North Texas back in the early 90s. So, and both my boys are born in Texas, so technically they're Texans. So we'll connect that way as well. So this is great to have you, and I'm excited to get this conversation started. And before welcoming you, I'm going to turn it over to Bob to give an official introduction to this member spotlight.
Well, it's kind of hard to do an official introduction. It's already there. We have Fredrica Roldan, and the first time I met Fredrica was at one of our races, and I can't even remember what I was doing or whether I was even part of the club board at that point. And Fredrica just had a beaming smile that you could see from a mile away, and introduced herself, and it was like, "Hi, I'm Bob. Hi, I'm Fredrica." And it was, if those of you who know Fredrica, you'll know she's a mainstay at our races, and she shows up. She's very consistent. She does our events. She does our races, is a tremendous athlete, as well as just a wonderful person. So tonight we're going to get to know Fredrica a little bit more. She has traveled around a bit, as she has said, and you call yourself, Fredrica, a military brat, moving around quite a bit, and you spent some time in Texas, and you've been doing triathlons for quite a while now. You started in 2012, am I right?
In 2012, and actually, you know what, Bob? I think you and I met before the first event, because I bought my swim buoy from you. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's right.
We met in front of Dunkin' Donuts, and I needed a swim buoy, and you put your arm in a sling.
That's right. I had just come out of surgery. Whenever the Xterra, they have these specials where they sell swim buoys for $9 a piece, and I know that the club newbies, new people in the club, they can always use them. So every time there's a sale on those buoys, I buy 5 of them. Yeah. And just to have someone, and they're like $10. So I remember now. You're absolutely right. You still have it? You still using it?
Yes, you'll see it tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, very good. And so you've been doing triathlon since 2012. Where was your first triathlon?
It was called Iron Girl out at Lake Las Vegas, and so I got into the sport through. I had done a half marathon. I was doing a half marathon, and I was supposed to be meeting some friends there that flew in from San Antonio to do the race. I couldn't find them, and it's a big old long story, but we couldn't find each other at the race, and all cell service went down. So I was at the starting line in tears that I couldn't find my friends. And so I ran. We weren't going to run together, but we were going to at least start the race together. And I was telling somebody at work this story, and she was like, "Well, you should do triathlons." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, it'd be fun. I'll do it with you." And I did all this training, whatever, and that friend did not do the triathlon with me. But it's okay.
So she got you into it, and then said, "Okay, you're on your own."
She had an all expense trip paid to Hawaii. Oh. So she was like, "Love you, but I'm going to Hawaii." So that's all. It's all right.
Okay. The Iron Girl, your first race, what distance was that?
That was sprint distance.
Okay.
Yes, and so
that was a hard course, though.
You know what? I was a hot mess. A hot mess. I didn't know I shouldn't be in that water. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to be able to see the person in front of you. I mean, I could see a little flicker of a foot. I mean, I didn't know you weren't supposed to be in murky water like that. Yeah. My first bike was a borrowed bike from a friend, and I had these. They were like boots. They were for your feet to go in the clips, but they were like a boot, and it was just terrible. I fell off the bike. It was just, I finished, but it was a mess. That was my first experience. But
well, we're glad you stuck with it. Sometimes in an experience like that will, taint you to the sport. But I'm glad you stuck with it.
I stuck with it. It was
Have
great.
things smoothed out for you?
They have. I started. Well, yeah, they have. I started. So after that initial introduction, I was kind of hooked, and I
Isn't
started.
that cool the way that happens?
It is, and there's just some interesting things that have happened along the way. Like I started training with this group. They're still out there, so I won't name them, but they were pretty terrible to me. It was just, well, for example, I didn't know, I was so new to everything. And we had met at this gym. My girlfriend, the same one who told me to sign up for this race, was like, oh, sign up with this group, and they're gonna, and I thought, oh, they're gonna teach me how to swim.
They're going to help.
No, because they called me over, and they called me over. I was in the pool. We were in the pool, and she was telling us, okay, you guys are gonna be in pods. You're gonna swim in a pod, and you're gonna, I'm gonna call, when I call your name, I want you to break away from the pod, because I want you to be like you would if you were in the lake and you're all in a group. I was like, okay. So we all get ready. Well, I grabbed my nose, and she was like, are you holding your nose? She's like, come over here. I kind of paddled to the side, and she goes, do you know how to swim? I was like, I don't. And she goes, and you signed up for a triathlon? I was like, I thought you were gonna teach us how to swim. And she goes, no. She goes, I train you, but you got to be ready. And so anyway, she goes, you know what? I'm not gonna call on you. So just have a good time. So anyway,
man,
it was just a lot of things happened. I made it. I did that spa girl, and then after that, I decided I wanted to do another race, and I have met some very terrific people that have come alongside me after that race. I had a very good friend of mine and his wife. They took me out to the lake, and he had his jet skis, or she was on her jet ski, pregnant with her 3-year-old in front of her, and he was in the water with me, swimming along. He was like, Fredrica, let your wetsuit do what it's gonna do. You're gonna be okay. And so swam with me, and then and he let me pay him in Girl Scout cookies. It was like just paying. Cool. And then I had another very good friend of mine. He is an amazing athlete, and him and his wife also would take me out to the lake and swim with me and just take their time. And he was video record me and show me, how I should look. And so I would meet all these amazing people. And then the reason I ended up in the Tri Club, I was trying to think, how did I get there? And I'm pretty sure it was through Sarah Gervin and Christy Keeler. Mm-hmm. Ran into them at LVAC swimming, and they invited, told me about the Tri Club, and I was like, I'm going to check that out. And so here I am.
Yeah, 2 wonderful people, Christy and Sarah. Absolutely. That's great that you got hooked up with them, early. But, I got to say 2 things about you getting started. You're not low on the courage scale, for sure. You signed up for a triathlon and you didn't know how to swim, you couldn't swim yet. It's like that takes a lot of courage. And on top of that, most people learn how to swim in a pool where you can stand up at first, and it's like, that's pure badass whenever you learn how to swim in a lake and you don't, that's pretty impressive.
I think it's one of those situations where you don't know what you don't know. So I was like, right. Wow, okay. So I just went right in, and like I said, just so many people were just, we got you. You can do this. And then I had help buying my first bike. I still have the same bike I've always had. So that was it. Yeah. Just great.
Well, I'm impressed that you signed up for another one after that. That's really that's great.
You hit the nail on the head with the Tri Club as well. How much isn't it impressive how everybody wants to help? Everybody wants you to do good. I mean, if you are on the side of the road fixing your tire, a triathlete is going to stop and make sure you're going to, ask you if you got everything you need. And
Yes.
especially in our club.
You know what? And then I've either had this shirt on or had the hat on somewhere, or I've met a couple people that have been swimming at the pool, and then later on I find out they're in the tri club, and everybody's been. It's just like a mindset, Like I was riding my bike at Red Rock Canyon one time, and I lost my driver's license, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to get that back, because everybody up there, they're either the runners or the bikers, kind of have the same mindset, and I just knew I would get it back. And 2 days later, somebody looked me up on Facebook, and he literally, I was at Red Rock. That's about 30 minutes from me. I'm in North Las Vegas. He called me, and he worked 5 minutes from my house. So I thought,
Cool.
Wow,
that was amazing. And he's like, yeah, I've got your ID. So just things like that. Yeah, I never worry. As long as someone said to me, as long as you have your equipment, someone will help you. So I had, the stuff that goes for your tires and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like you said, people don't realize what they don't know. People don't know what they don't know. And people who have done triathlons have to keep that in mind, that all the things that we take for granted, a new person doesn't know, It's like, so it's important that, those of us who are actually have been doing it for a little bit anyway, because I'm still pretty much a novice, but you got to realize that people don't know a whole, they don't know what they don't know yet, and you got to kind of help folks out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Now,
well, and on top of that, the equipment and doing it, with a borrowed bike, and I mean that it's, you can get into this sport from different avenues and different places, and so that's a neat way to get started. But I'm still thinking of that swim and in Lake Las Vegas, and that's
I know.
Well, I do you know Sam Sweet? Samantha Sweet? She's
oh yeah, I do, yeah.
okay. So I like I said, the Lord has always just put these people on my path. So I don't remember how I met Sam, but she ended up being one of my swim coaches too. She and Kara, I can't remember Kara's last name, but they always did Slam the Dam. She and her husband.
Oh yeah, Kara Miller, or not Kara Miller, Kara and Paul, yeah.
I got hooked up with her group as well. I never did Slam a Dam, but I did swam over there at that pool off of the 95. I got involved in that swim group. Sam Sweet was awesome. I mean, I haven't seen her in a while, but I still hear her voice in my head, helping me with the training and just getting me ready. And she would always tell us, be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And just once the swim part, once you get that swim part down, because my friend's husband told me, he goes, okay, listen, we're gonna get the swim part down. He goes, because if I have to yank you out of that water, then who cares how fast you can run or ride your bike? You got to get the swim portion down, or you're not finishing the race.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
And you have to get comfortable. You have to get comfortable so you don't burn out on the swim.
And breathe, and you get that wetsuit on. I feel like you can't breathe, and it's like, and the water's cold.
So what is your favorite leg now? Do you like swimming, and did that turn into a good leg, or?
Probably swimming. Yeah, probably.
Cool?
Swim. I mean, it's the one that makes me the most nervous. But I always feel like when I get out of the water, I'm alive, and I'm like, okay. The rest is
you
good.
got your sense of accomplishment out of the way right there. It's like, I got that swim done.
I got this.
Now it's just fun.
Well, I want to make a little observation in this. This is really interesting because, and I'll preface this a bit. We've talked a little bit before this already. Diversity in triathlon. There's been a big initiative to try to increase the number of women in triathlon, and the people that you've mentioned so far in terms of helping your journey in the sport have all been female. And that's pretty neat to see, because, and I remember you posted something on Facebook one time when there was some dialogue on social justice, and one of the posts, I believe it was you, and you said, something about role models, and having role models in the sport is really important. And I know we talked a little bit ahead of time, but do you want to talk a little bit about diversity of triathlon and how it's impacted you and what you're doing?
Well, sure. So, I'm certainly, no authority on this whole thing, but just what I know from my own experience, people like to see people that look like them in a race. I remember one of my big races I showed up for was Rage, and it was in 2013. And it was so funny because a friend of mine who would help me learn how to swim, he said, "Don't worry, I'll meet you at the triathlon. And I'm gonna make sure you got your transition area all together and everything." And I don't know, there are probably like 600 people there that day. And Eric walked right over to me, and my kids are with me, and I was like, "I wonder how Eric found me and all these people." And my daughters were like, "Mom, look around. How do you think he found you?" I was like, "Oh." So and that's when I first started, I was like, "Oh, you're right," so the diversity, it's just a lot of, in my culture, we don't really grow up swimming. I think if you want to go all the way back to, being in the United States where, we weren't allowed in the pools. And that certainly wasn't so much in my lifetime. I was a military brat, my sisters and I swam, but that would probably like for my grandparents. So they weren't allowed in the public pools, and we didn't spend summers at the lake or at the beach or anything like that. So then you zoom ahead to like then my parents who didn't grow up with parents that sent them to go swimming. Then you have my parents who, we did some swimming lessons and things like that. But for most Black women not swimming, it is the hair. Our hair, you can have hair like mine, which a lot of girls don't want. But our hair, I'll just give you a lesson 101. So the things we do with our hair, either you're going to relax it, which makes it straight, and that's a chemical you put on your hair. You spend a lot of money doing that. Or you're going to flat iron it or use a hot comb. Now, a hot comb is just exactly that. It's a comb that you put in hot, and then you take it through your hair and you make it straight. That takes time. If you're going to a salon, that's a lot of money. So you're not going to spend time in the water because then it just curls right back up. No. And you've lost all that, so whether you've got extensions, a weave, braids, those are things that just go well with water. So then as far as the men, now I notice that sometimes at races, Rage or Pumpkin Man, I'll see some of the guys out there, but you still don't see a lot. The numbers are still uneven. And, you have to think those same men are being raised by also Black moms who aren't sending their kids to the pool. Mm-hmm. So I think that is where because like I said, I've never felt like I wasn't welcome, but it just isn't a thing that we did growing up. Yeah. And so you get like me who started, triathlons in their mid 40s when I started, and even now, swimming now, I can be at the pool at LVAC. And if there are other Black people in the pool area or, in the exercise area where they do the aerobics or not so much now, they don't have the classes anymore. But I would see the looks like, wow, she's not only in there, but she knows how to swim. So now I do. She knows how to swim. So that is that is why.
No, that's great. And you're right. I mean, there's a lot of socio-cultural issues that go into any sport. And this is no different. And so I think it's neat. USA Triathlon, I think it was last year, they gave a grant to historically Black colleges and universities to help with a triathlon initiative, which is great because you need these role models to get involved, and then that helps removing one roadblock to getting involved with the sport. And maybe other people have figured out how to get over some of these roadblocks and what to do.
Yeah, just being introduced, just being, because like, so my girlfriend, I'd never even heard of triathlon, and it all started from, the race that we talked about earlier, the half marathon that I was doing that didn't go well. And she said, "Hey, try triathlon." And I was like, "What?" And she was so funny. She was like, "Girl, you'll have your wetsuit on. You'll be fine." I go, "But I don't know how to swim." "You'll be fine. Doggy paddle your way through it. You'll be fine."
Well, and again, and this is neat to hear, someone that you're talking, another female. And interestingly, a colleague of mine actually just published a paper today on women involved with sport as you get older. And there's more roadblocks for women to get involved with sport. And again, that comes back to triathlon and trying to increase the diversity in genders as well. And that's neat to hear that you're getting these interactions from other women. And I think we need to continue to work on that. I mean, we're not there yet.
No, do you have any advice for us who actually want to increase the diversity, and what can we do from your perspective?
Like I said, I think if you work with, if you have colleagues at work, or if you have any influence over any other kids, just introduce them to it, tell them about it.
Right. Right. Don't assume anything. Just say, hey, we're going on a swim this weekend.
Because a lot of times people, they're like, lake? Are you what? And I would think the same thing. Because I don't know if you guys know this. I'm a flight attendant, so fly over.
I want to ask you about that too. So.
Okay. Well, there have been times where it's Wednesday afternoon, and we're flying over Lake Mead, and I would look over out of the airplane window and be like, I'm going to be in there in a few hours, and it would still freak me out. Like, I'm going to be in there. I'm going to be in there in a few hours. So, but I just think that just introducing people, asking, hey, have you ever thought about triathlon?
No.
And the thing you'll probably get first is, well, I don't know how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the Tri Club could maybe start swim classes or something.
There you go.
To get people swimming and then feeling more comfortable, and then going from there.
Right. There are some basics that we can do as far as for simply making people more comfortable in the water. And then after you get to that point where you can relax and do some real basics, and then we have some tremendous coaches who will make you faster, but you have to be comfortable first in the water. So that's a great point. Yeah. Just get them in the water, get them comfortable, and let them know that it's not gonna kill you. It's fun.
No.
All right, that's a good point.
Well, and that's what I've liked about our Wednesday night swims, and hopefully we're going to start them up soon. And because it's been a nice way to learn that open water part. But that's a great point, Fredrica, in terms of looking at even introducing swimming somewhere else, in a pool or different parts of town. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you. You brought up the flight attendant part, and you do a little bit of travel, and you go to some nice places. But I gotta ask you, how do you continue to train when you do that type of travel?
That's probably the saddest part, is that I've had to do a lot of training by myself, because it's hard to get involved with groups.
Oh.
And then I can't make it, and I feel like I'm missing out. So when the Wednesday night swims were fine, I just kind of bit around it and made all of them that I could. Mm-hmm. But anything else on a weekly basis, it's kind of hard to do that. So I've been pretty much by myself on my own.
Well, just so you know, Fredrica, I work up near in North Las Vegas, near the municipal pool in Vegas, and I swim there at 11 o'clock. That's when I get my swims, at 11 o'clock in the morning. And so if you're ever down there, there's like 18 lanes in the pool, and there are usually 2 of us in the pool. I mean, it's crazy. It's empty, and it's a wonderful facility.
It is. Yeah.
Where is it?
It's on Bonanza. It's the Las Vegas municipal pool.
Right near there, the 95.
Yeah, right off of 95.
15.
Yeah, 15.
I've swum in that pool. That's where I used to swim with Kara. She had her group over there.
They just reopened. I swam there once since they've reopened. But before they closed, that's when I'd go there twice a week and swim. So it's a nice place to go.
Yeah.
So
I'll stick with the flight here because I'm interested. Okay. I always lose my bike on the plane. Do you travel? Would you ever take your bike with you when you have work that takes you different places?
No, but I have done 2 triathlons out of state. I went back to Texas. I did one in San Antonio and I
Yeah.
did one in Austin. And
Oh,
I just rented
yeah.
my bike. And um, I've had some great experiences. The bikes are top quality. The one I had in Austin, I don't even know how many thousands of dollars that bike must have cost. But it was like $62 to rent it.
Oh,
It
that's
was like, are you
perfect. Yeah.
kidding? Like I said, are you, because when I went in San Antonio, they made me do a deposit I had to leave a deposit of the value of the bike.
Yeah.
That was in San Antonio. When I went to Austin, they're like, just $62. And I was like,
Mm.
what? And it was a nice, don't ask me the names of bikes. I don't know that, but it was nice. It was like, it's so smooth, but I've never traveled with my bike. I've just always rented when I've gone.
Well, and that's actually a great piece of advice, is to look at renting where, where you're doing the race. I've tried to do that as well. I've always called too late, but that is a good option to try to do something like that.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite local race then?
Um, probably Rage, just because it was the first that I've ever done. I can tell you the one I have never returned to, and that was Pumpkin Man.
Oh,
That was that was hard, and it was my fault. The hill, and I practiced. I had a coworker of mine who would take me we'd do the bike route
mm-hmm.
once or twice a week. So I was prepared for the hill. But that day, that's the race I fainted. I finished across the finish line, but I fainted
Oh
after.
goodness.
And when I was laying there and with my face in the grass, I heard someone ask about medication. And he said to me, and I didn't know this man, but he said, listen, he goes, are you on blood pressure medication? And I said, I am. He said, you can't be doing these endurance races and still be on whatever the milligrams you're on. He goes, you're going to have to get that adjusted. So of course, paramedics came and they, did my heart rate, made me sit there for a little while to bring my heart rate down. So that was a learning experience, but just that fear,
Mm-hmm.
I have not been able to return back to that race.
Mm. Oh wow, interesting. Well,
Yeah, and it could still be hot in October. I remember, first time I did Pumpkin Man, going up the hill, and then it was like, that was fine, and then I still had to run, and so yeah, that could be a tough race.
Yeah. That is. Oh, so okay, I gotta ask you, what plans did you have for 2020?
Okay, you know what? So I have to say, this is the first time that I am so glad that I'm a procrastinator. I'm not one of these that signs up for races. They're running all these specials at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You've got until, the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve to get this in. And I'm just like, I'm always wait.
Mm-hmm.
And I waited. Probably the only thing I had, my girlfriend and I were going to do a race in Florida, but we hadn't paid for it yet.
Okay.
So I didn't really have any big plans. I was just kind of like, wait and see, because one of the things was that my training had kind of slowed down a little bit, because I went from a domestic flight attendant to an international flight attendant, and I was just in October. So I was just trying to see, how well I could train while flying international. How was I going to feel? So I hadn't really signed up for anything for 2020.
Oh, well,
good timing, actually.
Yeah, that's right. And I've seen your pictures of airports empty, and that's sobering. So then, all right. So then I already know the answer to this question. Then 2021. Do you have anything picked out? And my guess is no.
I just wait. I'm like, I'll sit there in front of the computer and I'm like, should I? I don't know. And then I wait and wait. And then I'm usually the last minute that's got to pay extra. But I'm like, okay, that's okay. Or usually maybe not. I usually decide maybe about 3 months out.
Yeah. That's great. So then, what's your best advice for people getting into the sport?
I'm usually always like down on myself, oh, I wasn't as fast as that person, or oh, I was, I swear in one of my races, I literally got passed up in the same race by a 14-year-old and a 66-year-old. And I was like, well, it's terrible at this. But I think, I talk to myself a lot, especially on the bike. And, I think the starting line is probably more important than the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I look at, my age group, my gender, my race, I started. You got to get to the start.
There you go. Yeah.
Got to get to the starting line. So that would be my advice. Just, hey, don't worry about it. And also, don't be so arrogant that you think everybody's looking at you. Nobody's paying attention to what you're doing. I'm always like, oh, they're going to know I came in last. They're going to know nobody cares about what you're doing. Everybody's focusing on their own race.
Their own race.
And I'm just racing against myself. I'm trying to, be faster, better than I was in my last race. And I don't need to worry about what everybody else is doing.
Oh,
yeah, and you can't worry about that. I mean, you got Joey McCauley, 14, blowing away the adults, like nothing. And when I first got started, it was a long time ago, but I was, healthy, young, 32-year-old, and doing a biathlon. And this guy with a 66 on his leg passed me going up a hill and said, "Keep it up, son. You're doing fine." You can't, they're like you said, they're doing their own thing, and
Yep.
they're happy to be there. You're happy to be there. It makes for a much better race.
Well, that as a matter of fact, the 66-year-old that passed me was a female, and she passed me on the bike, and then I saw her later on the run, and then we started chatting after. I said, "Oh my gosh," I said, "you were like flying past me," and she's like, "Honey, I've been doing this for 33 years,"
Yeah.
and I would have to say that the sport of triathlon has been humbling. It's humbling in the fact that you cannot judge somebody on their age, on even weight, any of that.
mm-hmm.
Because I've just been shocked by so many things I've seen. I'm like, wow, that person, is a great athlete. That's what I tell everyone. It's humbling because you think you have it all together. Oh, I'm fit. Oh,
And at the same time, it's all family. That's what's cool about it. Everybody just wants you to do well, and
Yes,
so that's good.
Well, I knew we would just get rolling and talking about things, and we're already over our 30 minutes. I told you we'd keep you for about 30. So this has just been really great to chat with you. I really appreciate, you being very open and talking about socio-cultural issues and diversity issues. And it is important that we create, a culture of inclusiveness. And I really appreciate you being very open about talking with us and others as well about this. So, and it's just great to talk with you and learn more about you and your journey in triathlon. So thank you very much for joining.
Can I plug really quick? This was from Christy. If she's watching, Christy Keeler gave me this book and she wanted me to pass it on. Christy, I finished the book. It's Gutsy Girl. It's about adventures. I finished it. Let me know who you want me to pass it on to next.
That's great.
Cool. And thanks. It's been delightful talking with you. And we'll see you on the starting line for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I think the starting line is more important than the finish line, and that is just such a great attitude, and that's that I've known you for, and it's great to just see that. So, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
All right, and I'm going to stop the Facebook Live, and I'm going to stop